So we're doing things a little differently on the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast today. We have Nicole Berlin, a paediatric occupational therapist, and her gorgeous therapy dog, Sophie, joining us today to discuss the benefits and challenges of using tricks in animal-assisted therapy settings. So if you're listening to this, please be aware there are visual components to this podcast that begin at about the hour and 10-minute mark, at which time we strongly recommend you switch over and watch the rest of it on the Therapy Dogs Australia YouTube channel. Enjoy. That's a great way to start the potty for those listening. So Sophie, the therapy dog, just got a little treat, which is cute. So welcome everyone to another episode with the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast.
Hello.
Today we get to chat to the lovely Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
So do you want to just kick it off with telling everyone a bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm an occupational therapist. I've been one for about 7.5 years now. I have Sophie here too. I don't know if she wants to quickly introduce herself. Come here.
Hey, Sophie.
She might look at the camera and say hi. Hang on. Yeah, there we go.
That's
Good girl.
nice.
Good girl.
Yeah.
She's 3. So I haven't always worked in pediatrics. I have a bit of a random background. I've worked a bit in mental health with defense DVA clients and adults, aged care, residential, community, and now I'm in a pediatric clinic for the last few years. So I guess starting out with animal-assisted therapy, I wasn't always going to do that, but I've always loved dogs. So me and my husband literally moved house in 2020 to just get a dog because we lived in an apartment and we couldn't have
Heck
one.
yeah.
So we literally like, it's happening, we're moving just to get a dog. So we did that so we had a backyard and everything. And then I got Sophie. So we got her at 8 weeks old, but we picked her out from a breeder at 2 weeks, met her at 6 weeks. And then, from 8 weeks old, she was already coming home with us. And I always had colleagues in the past tell me a little bit about animal-assisted therapy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really cool. So didn't really think much of it at the time, but I thought that would be awesome. But yeah, I didn't have a dog at the time, so it wasn't really crossing my mind. And then when we had Sophie, I just sort of realized how much she loves people. So she would be walking along and just every person she sees, she has to dart up to and say hi. And people were just so excited to see her. And just like the biggest, I think like one of the biggest prerequisites for a therapy dog is just that love of people.
Yeah.
Because every new person, like within reason, if there's someone who's dangerous, she wouldn't approach them because she's just so intuitive. But like she just knows who wants to say hi to her. She'll go up to very specific people and they're just minding their own business and she'll just run up to them, say hi. They're like, yes, I love dogs. And now I just trust her opinion. I know exactly who she wants to say hi to. And I let her because the person's always just so overjoyed and happy. So the fact that I had that sort of on the side, she was just going to be my family pet dog, and then I was like, I wonder if I can like incorporate this into work because I had a few kids that mentioned that they had like animal-assisted therapy, like in counseling and things like that. And parents were saying like, I had kids who were selective mutism, very anxious, those sort of things. And the mum would tell me like, oh, they're so comfortable, so able to talk, those sort of things. At this clinic where they have a therapy dog. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, maybe I'll look into it a bit more. So I was just Googling and then this was back in November. I did the course 2021. So with Therapy Dogs Australia. And I was Googling the course. I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. That sounds like something Sophie would really like. I just tried her out. Like she was already, I think, 1 and a bit at this point. And I was like, oh, I'll just bring her to the clinic as a casual few like teenage kids, take it easy to see what she thinks before we jump straight in. And then she just loved it. So excited to be here. So excited to be at work. She's very play-based, so she's one of the ones that just loves the high energy kids, but we do work on everyone regulating together. But she gets super excited, loves playing, loves trick training, loves fetch, does like food, but like, if there's a ball there or food there, she'll go for the ball. So I just thought she'd love it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just go and have a look. We might not be suitable, but let's just do the course, learn a bit more about it and see. So we finished the course in November 21. And then I think we were pretty keen and we did it all in January that next year. and passed as level 1, which was good. And then recently did the course again and got level 2, which is exciting.
Well done.
Did your assessment again, your reassessment? You don't have to do
Yes.
the whole course, guys, every 12 months.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, not the whole course, just the assessment. So that was easy because we'd done it before. So I think we smashed out the whole thing in just one day because we wanted to get it done. But
well done.
Yeah, so it was a big day, but we got it done. And yeah, so I guess that's sort of how we got here. Then since then we've just been working on different things still. There's always ongoing training, I feel like, all the time. That we're working on. Sophie's not perfect, and neither am I. So we're always working on different training, and that's where we got more into the trick training side of things too, just because it's just another whole area of ways we can incorporate that into therapy, as well as ways to benefit her, me, and the child. There's just so much that goes into it. So yeah, I think that's sort of how we got here.
I love
Very
how
cool.
natural that all sort of progressed. Such a beautiful sort of gentle pathway into it.
Yeah, like we weren't always planning on doing it, because I know people do get dogs in the goal of like having a therapy dog, and then they don't become suitable, and that's so disheartening and those sort of things. So like I said, I always knew about it, but it wasn't something I was going to do until I just realized how much she would love it, because she just loves people so much that I was like, this might work. Let's just see. And then, now I'm just super invested in it. So yeah.
That's something that we've talked about before, is that difficulty when people go and source a dog for this reason, and the amount of pressure that they put on themselves and the dog, because they really, really want it to happen. But it's the kind of thing that you can't really force. Like, you can set the dog up for as much success as possible, but at the end of the day, that dog's going to be who they are, so sometimes a dog's just not suitable for it. But we definitely, because we've got now obviously our puppy and adolescent courses, because we're trying to assist people through that process of trying to set them up for success as much as possible. But at the end of the day, like I tell everyone in the puppy classes, to forget about therapy dog, forget about that. We're just going to raise this puppy to be the best possible dog that this puppy can be. And when we get to, outside of that critical period and we start to get to maturity, the dog will tell you whether or not it's going to be a therapy dog. Like we will know whether or not it's going to be a therapy dog. But if we have all this pressure on us and the puppy, and that just ends it goes pear-shaped, ends badly a lot of the time, because it's so stressful, Yeah. So Nicole, a part of your reassessment, so when we do our assessments and reassessments, we do people do a temperament assessment, and we do our obedience and manners assessment, which is your video submission. So it's like a 2-part thing. So when we do the video submissions, one of the things that, and I can't remember if I've probably talked about this podcast before, but when we developed that, we didn't have this initially, but I added it in because of the experience that I had when I was assessing my dogs through my dog training course, which was NDTF, which they had to do these really specific, they were tricks, and they had to do it perfectly, and you had to do 4 reps, a video of unbroken 4 reps, and they had to do it perfectly 3 out of 4 times, and you could only say like 1 word, and they just had to do it perfectly. And it took me a while. It was very frustrating for me, because it took me a while to get the dogs to that point. And I have to keep like a training journal. And I had to delete most of mine before I put it in, because I was literally like cutting sick in this training journal, because one of the frustrations for me was like, I understand that, I think I have told the story before. So what was happening, you have to do that leg weave. So when you walk and the dog weaves between your legs, we had to do the weave for, I think it's 10 meters, start from a position. So sit or drop, say weave, or like 1 word, and then walk your 10 meters, and they have to weave perfectly. Wow. And you can't lure, like you can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say no treats or anything.
Yeah, you can't lure. You can give a treat at the end, but you can't use your hands. You know how you can lure through, and remind them what they're supposed to be doing and like redirect them. Can't do any of that. It had to be just a clean walk 10 meters. And I was working on it with Oliver, my border collie, who's quite a soft dog, and so like a bit of a sensitive dog. And
yeah, same with Sophie. I think it's very much a border collie thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're making all this progress, right? And then I'm practicing one day and I accidentally kick him. So as I'm walking, taking the step, we collide, and he is offended. Like, he is so offended. He could still weave, but he couldn't stay in this position, like the sit. He couldn't stay in that position when I took the first step. So I'd take the step and he'd scoot out to the side because he was scared of getting. I was like, oh my
and they
God.
remember everything once, don't they? Like, it takes one
man.
time and they're like, yep, that's it.
Traumatized. And I was like, and then I was like getting worked up because I'm like, oh my God, like, how am I going to pass this? I'd worked on it for ages, like, we were nearly there kind of thing. And I was like, FML. So I had to swap. So I have a trusty old Labrador. I swapped to him, and we got through it. He just picked it up really quickly. Thank God. Difficult to offend and blah blah blah. Never kicked him. Like, didn't mean to do it, Oliver. But anyway, during that process, I was getting really frustrated and pissed off because I understood that they needed to assess something really quite. It needed to be very specific so that they could assess everybody the same against the same criteria. But I was getting the shits because I was like, my dog can't weave like this, but he is a great dog. Like, I just wish I could show you everything this dog can do. Wait, like, if you could see him work a group of kids at a school and go around to every kid and get pats from every kid, and then, stay with that kid for like 3 or 4 pats, and then get up and go to the next kid and get 3 or 4 pats, and then get up and go to the next. If you could see this dog and the way, he can, we did sheep herding and stuff like that. If you could see this dog, if you could see what this dog can do, like, he's so good. He's like, his recall's like amazing. And like, and I would get all worked up, but like, these dogs are great dogs, and your stupid assessment you're asking the fish to climb the tree, and it's making me upset.
It's putting them all in one.
It feels like it's
box.
diminishing them,
right?
And they can't do that, then they can't do.
And you're not a good dog. You can't pass your dog training thing because you can't get your dog to weave. I'm like, I'm sorry, I kicked my bloody dog. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But anyway, it was an emotional time. You get stressed with these kinds of things. It was good that I had that experience. Obviously, like, I really loved the NDTF course, and like I said, I understand why they had to have a criteria, just like we have to have a criteria. You have to have a criteria. Otherwise, how do you mark people? It's just you making stuff up. So I got it, and I'm glad I had that experience because it helps me understand our students as well when they start to get disheartened or frustrated or whatever. I can be really quite compassionate with that, even though I'm sort of like, yeah, I know, but we have to have a criteria. I'm also like, but I know. So anyway, out of that, I added our bonus video to our assessment criteria. So what the bonus video is, for everyone who hasn't done an assessment with us before, you get the opportunity to submit a video up to 5 minutes of your dog doing the thing that makes your dog special. So whatever that is that our assessment doesn't capture. So whatever it is that, our sit, drop, social walk, whatever, recall, whatever it is, like, we have to do it. We have to do it that way. We have to have a criteria. We have to standardize, blah, blah, blah. But I fully recognize and understand that we are not going to capture your dog's true personality and what makes them special and what makes your relationship with them special by looking at that stuff. So we put the bonus. It doesn't get marked, so it doesn't get a score. It's not compulsory. Most people don't send a bonus video in. Lots of people really, really I should probably say 50-50. A lot of people don't send a bonus video in, but a lot of people do. And we love them. So,
you rave about them all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Like,
and I love taking videos of my dog. So I'm like, I'm going to definitely do this.
Same. I'm like, and
so much content on that phone.
I got like 40,000 videos on my phone. It's
ridiculous. I just used all old footage. I didn't take any new footage for that bonus video. I just went through and just like, yep, okay.
So the idea is that, like, I mean, we're seeing the dogs on kayaks. There's dogs
Wow.
jumping through hoops into pools. There's dogs doing all sorts of stuff that obviously we get to see then the relationship that the dog has with the handler and their family and whatever, and dogs doing dog sports, dogs doing whatever, just whatever it is that they just, dogs just doing their therapy dog job, hanging out with kids or whatever, or at nursing homes and stuff like that. And I think it's so important that we take that on board, that, these dogs, we have to assess these basic things, but we got some really special dogs in our cohort, and yours is one of them. So, I mean, they're all special in their own way. But Sophie's definitely very special. And the reason that we contacted Nicole about coming and talking to us today is because her bonus video was just so cool. So I'm going to show it. So today's podcast is going to be more of a video cast. So if you've started listening in your car or whatever, we do publish these on YouTube. We do the whole video thing. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff that's going to be visual content today. Actually, Max, I might get you to say that in the bio as well, in case people get this far and they're like, how dare you?
Don't worry.
I was all excited about the content. How dare you waste my 20 minutes? It'll probably still be fun to listen to. There'll actually be a fair bit of content to listen to as well.
Yeah.
So if you are just listening, you will need to go back and watch as well. But yes, this is going to be a combo. So what I'm going to do, Nicole, is I'm going to show everybody your video, your bonus video. Didn't ask your permission before this podcast, but can we please show everybody your bonus video? Okay, all right. So now's the time to switch to YouTube, guys, if you haven't already. But here we go.
Aww.
What a legend, eh?
Sophie.
It's actually so cool to watch. It's quite emotive actually to watch, because Sophie is just such a little superstar, but also your relationship with her is on display in that as well. And the things that obviously the time that you've spent with her, and the way that you guys communicate, like to get these kinds of tricks, or there's a bit, for people who are listening, there's a bit of sheep herding in there as well. It's pretty cool that I know that stuff really does build your relationship with your dog a lot. It's one of the things that we recommend to people if we think there is a relationship problem. Then we'll definitely recommend that they go and do some dog sports or, something like that. Go and spend some time with your dog. Go and learn how to communicate with them, because you do need to. Do you think that, Nicole, got to be able to communicate effectively with your dog to do this
definitely.
stuff?
Like, I feel like since we've been doing more of the tricks together, just bits and pieces, little bits of training and stuff, like she's more responsive. She kind of wants to be around me even more. Like, I don't know, she's not really a cuddly dog, but I feel like she became more cuddly after we did the course, just because we had more of that trust and that relationship as well. So she sort of always wanted to be that little bit closer, whereas she only cuddles up to people that she really trusts. So just like our bond was stronger, I guess, as well. And she's a bit of a like around people in the clinic, she's like pretty chill. but she is a bit more of an anxious sort of breed as well. Like she does get nervous around loud machinery and cars and things. So I find, and we're still working on that too. Like that's an ongoing thing we're always working on. Just a little bit auditory sensitivity, which I think is pretty common in border collies as well.
Yeah.
But only selectively though. Like if there's a squeaky toy, she loves it. So it just depends. It depends what it is. But I feel like I kind of went down that path more because I feel like if she trusts me more in those environments where she's a little bit more sensitive or a little bit more anxious and things, she can trust me more and come to me more for that security as well. And also building her confidence, because we do practice our tricks and things in sort of more public places just to build her confidence in those settings and our communication in those settings as well. Because like we've only just started doing middle like more recently in the last few months. So it's still getting tweaked, but I found that was just her go-to love. Like she just does it now for fun because she just loves it so much. She just like even parents come with their kids and she'll run up to the mum's legs and just between them and smiles up at them and it's like the funniest thing ever. But she just loves doing it. So I find that even if she's stressed out, she will just run between my legs and be like, "Save me, mum!" And like we've got that security straight away.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a really, really good one we've learnt lately that I feel like it's just her go-to that makes her so happy. It's just that one that like other tricks she'll do, they're fun and she loves a lot of them, but sometimes she does them because she's like, I guess I'll do it. And then other ones she's like, yes, I love this one. So really building up her confidence in our relationship, I think, is the big ones for why we do the trick training.
It sounds like it's more than just a trick as well. It sounds like it's her way of communicating something with you. It's like every trick or everything that you do with her adds to the mutual language.
Like together. She does do more tricks when she wants dinner, that's for sure too.
Starts offering things.
She's going to press the right button.
Look, got my paws up. Does that mean you're going to feed me? So
we might get you to show us middle as well, Nicole, because I think it's that as soon as you said that, I feel like someone else has told me that they've used that before too. I feel like it could be a very handy thing. So listeners, Nicole's going to get us started with a few tricks. So if you
should I do luring with food? Because I've got treats here.
Yeah. We always use food. That's a good point. We always use food for trick training. Always. Yeah.
Cool.
Or you don't have to, but definitely.
I just feel like she'll be more on point if I have the
treats. For sure. For sure. Some dogs won't take food, or like they don't need it. But so like I taught Nala to pick up her dinner spoon because she steals it off the dog food bench every time we feed the dogs, and she takes it somewhere and cleans it. So I'm like, oh well, she's cleaning it. But then what was annoying me is that I had to go and find it all the time. So I taught her to find it. And so now every time I feed them, I'm like, where's the spoon? And she has to go and search the whole dog patio area.
Oh, I love that.
It brings me the spoon.
Comes after evening activity.
Yeah. So it's cute and stuff, but also I don't have to find the spoon, which is great. Yeah. But I didn't use food to teach her that. But she gets the reward of no one gets fed until the spoon is here. I'm not touching the meat. So go and get the spoon. But she learnt it in the same way in these little chunks, like of I just she's a retriever. So I just handed her the spoon and she took it in her mouth, I'm like, yay, good job, and then I'd feed them like, great, now we can do the food. And then we just back chained it, a bit like that. So the reason I'm saying that is because if you're listening thinking, oh, I don't think my dog's going to take food for trick training and so on, I've never needed it before, or my dog just offers things. If you don't want to use food or your dog doesn't need food or whatever, don't worry. That's fine. Do whatever. But the reason Nicole's saying that is because when we do our therapy dog training and when our dogs are working as therapy dogs, we expect them to do that without food. So things like our sits and stuff like that, we just expect that the dogs can do that for rewards other than food, such as praise, pats, play, whatever. But for tricks, definitely, it's really, most dogs are definitely going to need food rewards. And there's no reason not to use food rewards for tricks. But when our general behavior and manners, when our dogs are working as therapy dogs, we don't want to have to be feeding them all day for that. That's why Nicole's saying that.
Okay. Do you want me to talk through anything to do with like how I work towards the trick training or demonstrate first or?
Yeah, so we will definitely, because we definitely acknowledge some people haven't done any trick training at all. So we're gonna talk through. I think we should talk through a few things like luring. Have you used shaping before, Nicole? Like capturing sort of stuff?
So with the shaping, we started working on sit pretty, but I know that's a process with building up the core strength and stuff. So I feel like that one we sort of did shaping a little bit, trying to just like do a little bit of pause up on my leg first and those sort of things. And then I always do marking and rewarding. So I always just use the yes cue to capture when she does the positive behavior. So that's that classical conditioning to say, when I say yes, this is positive, you're going to get a reward out of this. And then I do slowly take the food out because she is food motivated, but honestly, like if I have a toy or something, she'll do it if she knows the trick. But the food's the good starting point because that's really good for luring and stuff too, because it's very hard. It's very hard to lure with a toy. I find sometimes she thinks I've got to throw it and then she just like gets ready to catch it, and it's a bit tricky. So
yeah. And like my dog, so Nala, who I've got with me, you'll see she goes a little bit silly for food. So I use food and guiding. So she actually can struggle to focus on anything that's going on around. You could set off a bomb, but if I've got food, she'd be like, I don't care if I die. Like she doesn't even hear it, So that can be really hard for her learning process because she's not processing. You can lure her 50 times, but then like the 51st time, she'll be like, I'm so sorry, I've done it with her platform for her physio stuff. She's like, I'm so sorry, I've never seen this before in my life and I don't know even who you are. What's happening? And I'm like, man, she's just not processing it because she's so fixated on the food.
Yeah, right.
Blacks out.
Yeah,
she's like, so
like
all
hyper-focused.
Hyper-focused. So all she's like, food, and her body just is doing whatever. Like, so you can lure her into positions and stuff. But actually all my dogs are pretty much the same. But they're so like food. So when you start like fading lures and stuff like that, they're just like, what?
That's like a very Labrador thing too, isn't it? Though
I think so. Yeah.
Because I feel
they're pretty obsessed.
Yeah, Sophie like loves food, but she's like I said, if there's a ball there, she will just think she won't eat. She'll be like, nah, just in case you throw the ball, I can't be eating right now. It's distracting. Like I have to be ready. So I find she responds well to the luring with a treat, and then I do usually add a verbal cue quite early on with the treat, and then start to slowly like I might pretend I'm holding a treat, and like that's fading the lure out. Sometimes I'll just give it a go, just saying the verbal cue only, because if you do it a few times repeatedly, she sort of gets what we're doing each time, and then she does pick up on the verbal cue quite quickly. And then so some of them we're still working on. We're kind of always just working on new ones here and there, and then some that she's pretty on top of now. But that's usually the way I go about it, is starting with that. She knows the yes cue, the yes marker really well. So she straight on knows that's a good thing, and then working towards that verbal cue as well.
Fabulous. Okay, so what we want to cover as well is, so stay tuned, guys, because Nicole's going to give us a bit of a demo. When we're talking about trick training and stuff like that, we wanted to touch on how is this helpful for the dog, your relationship, things like that. Like we've talked about, learning to communicate, spending time together, doing training that's really fun. So, like when you're trick training, it's different to your obedience and manners training, because your obedience and manners has got that sort of like, if you don't do it, we're going to have a bit of a standoff, and you're just going to need to follow through with getting on your mat, please.
And it takes more self-control, I find too, as well, which is never fun. No one wants self-control.
So being able to do fun stuff where it's like, if you don't do the trick, it's not a big deal, but if you don't come back when I recall you, that is a big deal. So fun training time and things like that. What about though, Nicole, for therapy dog work? So animal assisted therapists, how would trick training be useful for them? Is it useful for you in your sessions?
Yeah, so I find the kids are just so motivated to do it. So it's a big, especially at the start, if it's like they don't know the dog very well, I find when they build that relationship and that human animal bond through that trick training, it gives Sophie that confidence. She warms up to them quicker. The child warms up to her quicker if sometimes they're a little bit hesitant by her or those sort of things. So it just kind of builds that bond and that communication between them. And the kids' faces just like, they're so confident in themselves when, they say sit and she just sits down. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then they're just so excited. So it's great for those kids, especially that, I see a lot of kids who are really anxious coming into therapy, or what we're doing is going to be really challenging. And, we want them to look forward to it. So they're set up for success. Because if they're coming in and they're just like, oh, I'm just coming here to do work, this sucks, whereas I have parents tell me they have kids running to the car going, I get to see Sophie today. And
literally,
they don't really care about me.
No.
Nobody remembers my name. A kid will meet her once for 5 seconds and then they come back going, where's Sophie? And like, who's the therapist? What? There's a therapist here.
You're Sophie's mum.
That's the lady that brings Sophie. I don't know. Yeah. So I find that when I tell the kids, like, sometimes they'll be like, does she know any tricks? What can we do? And I'll give them a couple of treats to give her. And yeah, they just get so excited. And it just brings their guard down a little bit. It brings Sophie's guard down. It's confidence building for the child and for her, but also like it benefits everyone in the room. Like it benefits the child. It benefits Sophie. I think for me, it's good because like things like middle or other certain tricks, because she does always listen to me on top of everyone else, which I do tell the kids, because sometimes they get a bit frustrated when they call her over and I've told her to stay somewhere and she doesn't come, which is great. But good for me too, because sometimes I'll have kids who, they might be especially the younger ones, they might be a little bit dysregulated. And if they're running around the room too excited, Sophie's running around the room too excited, it's a bit chaotic. And I'm like, okay, we need to all calm down for a minute here. So if I ask her to come do middle or something that's sort of more fun than just, getting in her bed, because she doesn't want to go in her bed when there's exciting things happening. Because she loves middle so much. But
the other thing about that too, Nicole, is that when we send them to their mat, it's tricky for me to keep a kid away from the mat. So if the kids become overexcited and dysregulated and whatever, and we're trying to just bring the energy down a bit, if I send the dog away to the mat, now the kid is probably between me and the mat or whatever, so that's where I think middle could be so handy of, when I always say to our students in the courses, like the safest place for your dog to be is with you, because you can protect them and their personal space by just protecting your personal space, which we can just do by blocking, just do that by blocking. If your dog's not in your bubble, it's very hard to protect them. So if we've just got a really overexcited kid, and let's be real, a lot of us are working with kids with challenging behaviors too. So these are kids that really struggle with their impulse control. They struggle with being redirected. They might have, quite oppositional presentations, where they're actually doing the opposite of what, we're trying to ask them to do and direct them to do. And those are our therapy goals. Like that's our job. As I know, as an OT, you would be working on opposition and stuff like that as well. Yeah. So that's the role that we do. And while I'm not going to work with my dogs in dangerous situations where I think the dogs are going to get hurt, this isn't about the dog necessarily getting hurt. This is about the dog being a disruption to the session. So now it's very hard for me to redirect this little person or calm this little person down because they are fixated now on this dog and, they keep throwing the toy, or they keep, they'll get their hands on the treat jar. Kids will get their hands on the treat jar. I think I've said in a previous podcast, I only put a certain amount of treats in the treat jar. I don't put a whole bag of treats in the treat jar, because kids will get a hold of the treat jar and that's it. Like that's it, and the type of role that Nicole and I are in this professional allied health role doesn't include snatching treat jars off of kids with autism, ODD, like oppositional defiance disorders. Like that's not a part of our role, is to snatch treat jars back off of kids. So we have to find ways around that, like, so if anyone's listening, like, we'll just take it off them. That's not actually a part of what goes down in these types of sessions. We have to find different ways. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I think would be super useful for people, would be like that middle, just like our recall, we're getting the dog back to us, because it's a lot easier to then manage the situation if the dog's back in our personal space bubble.
Yeah. I do find too, that if I can get Sophie, in my bubble, and she's calmed down a little bit, not running around the room, the kid kind of like looks around going, oh, Nicole's calm, Sophie's calm.
Absolutely.
I don't really I'm sort of just running on nothing right now. Whereas when Sophie's running around the room, there's just no stopping it. Like, she's running, they're running. It's just, So
Absolutely.
if I can get her to calm down, and I find kids also pick up, I don't know what it is, but they pick up on that animal canine body language better than like human body language or their own. So often I'll be like, look at Sophie's body. How's she feeling? We have to get her to calm down. They're like, oh yeah, she's red zone. She's going crazy. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to calm Sophie down right now. And they're red zone too, but they don't realize it. But we can calm Sophie down, and then they're like, oh yeah, she looks a bit better now. She's calm, or she's in her bed now. And, and like, we've got to lower our voice, because if we're yelling, she's got to be running around again. And because they really notice that she's really responsive to tone of voice. If a kid starts squealing or is excited, she's like, yes, what's happening?
It's like that.
Compared to if they're using a quiet voice, she's like, okay, this is boring. I'm just going to go to sleep now.
Yeah.
Because right now she's asleep, because she's like, you guys aren't really exciting me. So I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. This is clearly an adult conversation.
Yeah.
I am not interested. Checking out.
So I find that, if I can get her to calm down, I can get the child to calm down. So we all co-regulate together. But if Sophie is not calm, the child is not calm. She always reflects them as well, which is good and bad in some ways, because sometimes it's chaotic and I have to, regulate two people in the room, well, animal and dog, versus but then they can reflect on themselves as well. I'll be like, okay, so I can see that Sophie's calmer now when I'm sitting at the table doing this quietly, versus when I'm running around the room throwing 6 toys and stuff everywhere.
We use that ability to get our dogs in that red zone. So the red zone's just out of control zone, for people that don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about the zones of regulation.
Yes.
So the red zone is just, we've lost control. So we actually use that therapeutically all the time. So only a couple of weeks ago, I was letting Nala and one of my other clinicians, therapy dog, Charlie, run up and down the hallway like idiots at full speed at the clinic, because the kid that I was that was waiting for me in the waiting room, that I was about to have a session with, has issues with red zone, going into the red zone for play. And so I was like, hell yeah, the dogs want to play in red zone anyway, like they love each other. And so I'm like, just let it go, rather than usually if there's people there, we won't, we let the dogs play like that at lunchtime, but we usually, if people are there, we just chill them out. So yeah, we use it, and then we let them play like that for a bit. So, and he was like, whoa, they're crazy. Like, whoa, and I'm like, they are crazy. And then, we went into the room, separate the dogs, and started the session. And I was like, right, zones of regulation. And then we talk about, so what zone do you think Nala and Charlie were in when they were playing, running up and down the hall? He was like, red zone, like it's so much easier for them to understand, because we're like, you've seen it. Now you've just seen it. And if you don't have multiple dogs or whatever, like when when you're working with Sophie, it's great if you can use toys and play and their drive and stuff and get them in the red zone. The caveat to that is that we do need to teach you how to calm them back down again, because that's the whole point of teaching the zones of regulation, is that we're teaching people how to regulate. We're not teaching people that you're in the red zone, good luck.
Yeah. Bye. And we do that too. It's like that outlet at the start where we do that gross motor warm up or that sensory regulation obstacle course or something, and Sophie's running around the room crazy with her ball and they're loving it and everyone's laughing and squealing, and we're getting that outlet. We're saying it's okay to be red zone in certain environments at certain times. And then, okay, now that we've done this, we have to transition to our green zone learning time. How are we going to do this? How are we going to calm Sophie down? So we always have that aspect of it pretty much at the start, like, because Sophie wants to play at the start anyway. So I'm sort of like, this is Sophie's regulation time and your regulation time for you guys to build that relationship, have fun, enjoy yourselves, let it all out. And then now we're going to just bring it back a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone who's listening is like, how do you do that? We teach you that in our courses. We teach you how to regulate your dog. So if anyone's listening like, oh, my dog would never do that, we teach you that. Okay. Exciting. So I use tricks in a really similar way to you, Nicole. Definitely engagement, definitely a skills mastery thing. So a self-esteem building thing. Kids really do feel pretty great about, asking a dog to spin, and they spin and the kid's like, what? Like, whoa. What about challenges? Like, so Nala picks up that dinner spoon because she loses it. So now she has to find it. One of the things that she does, like if I'm just chilling outside, she'll go and get the spoon and bring it to me. And I'm like, that's very cute, Nala, but it is not dinner time. She's like, that is bad news. So we call that offering. So sometimes like dogs that have had a lot of trick training sort of stuff before, they might offer stuff. Do you have any problems with offering? Because sometimes it can be at times that aren't appropriate. Like I can't just feed Nala her dinner every time she brings me the spoon. I swap her. So I take it away at that point, and then I swap it with a bit of a game so she doesn't come away empty-handed, but I can't give her a dinner, obviously.
So I do like a few a few different things. I guess the main thing Sophie always wants to try to, manipulate me into doing is playing with her, because that's her thing. And say I'm just like, no, you need to have your rest now, we're not playing anymore. She'll like offer to put just her toy on my lap and look at me and just going, come on, just a little bit. It just depends on what she's already done that day. So if she's had quite a big day, I just have to use tone of voice and say like, no, you do need to have a rest. And because she responds so much to that tone of voice and knowing that, no more, we're having a rest, and she's pretty happy with that. Otherwise, if she needs that little bit of enrichment or something to help calm her down, I'll give her something to do. Like you can do like the snuffle mats or like the licky
puzzle
things and stuff. I find that's what I usually redirect her to, something like that if she's being a bit persistent with offering those sort of behaviors. But she does most of the time it's not really a big issue. Like usually it's like a kid's going to throw the ball for her and then building the suspense and holding it, and she's looking at them going, come on, and then she just starts spinning because she's like, look, I'm doing stuff for you to throw the ball, and it's more just funny than anything else.
I could see that. I could see that getting like, so that's spinning then. So a kid, even if a kid gets distracted, or do you get kids that like fake throw?
Yes, yeah.
It drives
try to tease her.
insane.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It drives me nuts. It's been a big journey for me. The two dogs that I work with now mostly aren't big fetch dogs, but Sunny was, and it used to drive me insane when kids would fake throw the toy, because I don't tease the dogs. No. I actually think that it's relationship rupturing to tease them, because I want that dog to know, if I ever give you any information, you trust me. Like that. If I've ever given you any information, then you know that's what's happening. I don't, and so no offense to people that want to muck around with their dogs like that, whatever. It's a personal choice, totally personal choice. That's just what I think about it. But then kids in the sessions, like they obviously do it with their dogs at home or whatever, and they think it's funny and all that sort of stuff. And I had to really work through that for myself to let that go, that they would do it.
I just sometimes use that as like an opportunity,
social
as well
skills
too.
Thing.
Yeah, because they do. It's the same thing with when they're like just giving her demands, and I'm like, you can't keep doing that just because she's obedient. Like they're like, sit, lay down, shake, right, spin, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I start doing it to the kid. I'm going, sit down, go over this, go do this. Can you go pick up that? And then they start getting really annoyed at me, and I'm like, do you like it? They're like, oh, and then it usually clicks pretty quickly. They're like,
it does, doesn't it?
I understand.
They're like,
because they're like, because they don't think it would be annoying, but like I feel so bad for Sophie because she's just like listening and doing everything she can to get this ball thrown for her, and I'm like, she shouldn't have to work this hard.
Is that quite a common
like she's
thing
doing good listening
with kids?
Yeah. It is for me.
And I do tell them, like, praise her each time she does a trick. Don't just go sit and then give her another command, because you're just teaching her to do stuff and not get anything out of it. So that's not really fair either.
It's a common thing for me where they'll earn dog treats throughout the session for their answers they've given, all the work they've done. And I'll go, so this, you got 5 treats. So you get to do 5 tricks. And I try and lay that foundation. But if the dog offers, so sometimes like Oliver's a bit like that, my border collie, like he might spin and then they don't deliver the food. And then he'll offer a shake. And then they're like, hang on a second, I can get this dog to do a heap of shit for one,
Sophie
for one
does that
treat.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas the dog is trying to get the answer correct. And so they keep offering
it's
things.
Confusing.
It's so mean. It's so
I
hard to watch.
So
it's awful. So the dog, and because you know when you're training your dog, they are searching for the right answer. And so you can see all this beautiful effort coming from your dog who's trying to get the answers right. And this like kid who doesn't understand that, and they just think it's funny and it's fun, and they've only got 5 treats, but they're like, I'm getting 5 tricks per treat here. So this is why I wanted to talk about challenges, because it's not all fun and games and roses and all that sort of stuff, because we have to deal with this stuff as well, where I've now got these feelings going on in me where I'm like, in my head, I'm like, God damn it. Stop doing that now. But as a clinician, they're not your kid. If it was your kid at home, you'd be like, oi, pull your head in, like, cut it out, like stop teasing the dog, da-da-da-da-da. The reason that we can't handle it like that, A, I'm a psychologist and I'd be in big trouble. B, can't talk to kids like that. B, it's not clinically beneficial to handle a situation in that way. So what we need to consider as the clinician is our therapeutic rapport, and we need to consider the relationship that the kid has with the dog. So we don't want to rupture the human-animal bond. The kid doesn't necessarily know that they're being mean to the dog. So we don't want to then go over the top of that and go like, right, stop it. No more for you. You're teasing the dog. You're mean to the dog, like da-da-da-da-da, and put all that negativity over the top of their relationship. We want to actually find a way to intervene in that therapeutically, which I'll go through. And Nicole, you can share how you do it as well. It's probably super similar. But I just want to point out to people, like, yeah, that sounds like a solution. But if your therapy goal, is not social skills training, your therapy goal is something else, then it can be really hard to work. You've got to stick to your goals. Like, we can still address it, but it might be something that pops up fairly regularly and it's not the main goal of your therapy. The other issue that I find or have found is that, so for example, if it's a client's first session and my main job in that first session is for that kid to want to come back next time. So if I keep putting rules and expectations and correcting them and telling them, that sort of stuff in the first session, I'm really going to run the risk of we don't want to, in therapeutic situations, we don't want to challenge the client too early. We want to actually build a relationship with the client and then very carefully scaffold our challenges. Otherwise, if we challenge them too early without relationship, then it will cause the client to disengage, or it will cause them to have yucky feelings, and it is going to damage your relationship stuff. So we do actually, as clinicians, have to be quite patient with like, oh, this kid is really messing with my dog. Like, it's really annoying me. And we have to sort of sit with that. I had to do a lot of work within myself around, you just need to let this go for right now. And let's find a gentle way to redirect. And, it's not going to ruin your dog forever and things like that. And I know I've said it on the podcast, I don't know what podcast, I know I've said it before, but I never let kids muck around with my important or new tricks ever, because don't even show them to them, because the kids will just do it even if you tell them not to. Yeah. Never ever, because it'll ruin it for your dog. And if your dog's very new to trick training, I'd say don't be using a lot of tricks in your work, because it can be super confusing for the dogs.
I really give them the really basic, easy ones that I know she'll get. Yeah. otherwise they do try to use and abuse it a bit too. So
Do you
Yeah.
do you find that if you've had some challenging situations like that, you might then spend some time with the dog at the end of the day or something, just rehashing that trust? Or if there was, do you find that that's kind of needed with either of you, or
What do you reckon,
is it
Nicole?
fine?
I have to do it with my horses.
Like I do a little bit with her every day anyway, just for fun. So I feel like I
So you
kind of
just check
have
in
a routine.
daily.
Yeah, I have a bit of
Yeah.
a routine with it anyway, because she just loves it so much. And if we haven't played, like even in the morning, like I usually play with her in some way, whether it's like a little bit of a walk or fetch or some sort of game in the morning. Like it's just my routine. Like sometimes I'll just do something with her while I drink coffee. I don't know. But she kind of look at me if I haven't done that. If I go to get her breakfast and she's like, well, we haven't, done our games yet, and she won't eat sometimes. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I realize I haven't actually done anything with her yet that day. So she's so routine based. She knows exactly what's going on. And yeah, I feel like because I do it with her quite frequently anyway, it doesn't really impact too much, because we do that little bit of something every day pretty much. So it's just like a routine now. So
I agree with Nicole that so I've got sit, shake, drop, spin, touch. That might be it. Leave it. They put the treat on their paws, and we say leave it, and then they get it. That's pretty much the only ones I use with the kids, and that's hardly anything, and it's very easy to get to that point. But also it's hard to stuff them up. Like it's hard to really make problems with that. But in the early stages, like a young dog in the early stages of learning tricks, if they're still in that stage of learning what luring is or learning your marker words, like I never, ever, do not ever, 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 ever give a child a clicker. If you've used clickers in your training, never, ever, ever give a child
that would
a clicker.
be very confusing, because timing is so important too with those. So
and all they do is click it. They just click it.
I've never used a clicker, but I wouldn't use it with a kid. No way.
I used to use clickers. It's like it is a nightmare if you give a child a clicker. Trust me, I've learned that the hard way.
Yep.
And it's not just like these are fairly consistent. They're like, kids are just, their kids are kids. Like it's not their fault. They're just kids. I think those certain tricks, and also they're the kinds of tricks that who cares? Like, like I'm sure the dogs, how good they do it, not the word that is, how good they do those tricks over the years has probably gotten a bit dodgy, but whatever, they do it to a standard that the kids are like, whoa, and it's pretty hard to stuff them up. Because the other thing I was going to ask you, Nicole, first of all, I want to backtrack a bit though. That stuff that I was saying about like first session and relationship and stuff like that. What do you find a similar thing? Is that something that, like, when people are hassling your dog in those kinds of ways, is it hard for you? Like, do you have considerations in how you handle that?
So I don't like you said, like I don't like to put too many rules in place at the start either. Like I try to keep it obviously structured, and to a certain point there's a fine line with when it's too much as well. But I do have some basic Sophie rules that I like, visuals that I have in the waiting room, on my door, and in my room, that are just like the basic starting points. And we talk them through, look at the pictures before we even meet Sophie. Because once they meet Sophie, just everything goes out the window. Like, this is exciting, this is great, yes. So, and then you don't really listen to anything. So I don't like to be like, don't do that, don't do this, because I just don't want that to be the start of the session. So we go through our rules, and they're just very basic. Like we've got little pictures there. They just say we've got to use our gentle hands. We got to use one instruction at a time, one toy at a time, and let Sophie have a break when she needs it. So that's our like main Sophie rules that we go through. And I find when I do go through them at the start with the kid, they're usually pretty good at remembering them, because they're on the door right there when we're playing with her. They're right there in the room. And if we go through them at the start before they're at that heightened excitement of meeting her, that usually is most of the time that has worked so far, and having like pretty controlled first interaction, because they can go back to the rules that they did process when they were a little bit calmer. And they're already excited to meet Sophie. So they said they're going, yes, okay, I'll do those things. Let's just go meet Sophie.
Give me the dog. I'll do whatever you say.
Whereas I found that if I didn't have that preparatory sort of activity, that little bit of that story at the start, like we have a picture of Sophie, we introduce them with the picture first, we don't have that first, and they come in and then Sophie's there wanting to play with them straight away. It's everything goes out the window.
No capacity for listening. Yeah, they're just already dysregulated because they're so excited. They're fixated on the dog.
So I find that so far, like, knock on wood, that has kind of worked for me most of the time, that I haven't had to intervene too much. And then Sophie is so responsive to me too, that if I tell her no more, she just drops the ball, runs back to room, chills out. She knows that, like, they'll try to throw the ball at her, or just whack her in the face because she doesn't even try to catch it. It's sad. But like, I'll be like, look, she's had enough. And they're like, oh, she hasn't enough. She hasn't actually had enough, but she knows when to stop when I tell her. She will try to push the boundaries and pick it up again in a little bit. She has like selective memory loss. But in the moment, that's enough for the kid to go, oh, okay, she needs a break now. That was one of our rules. Let's stop and reevaluate for a second, and that sort of thing. So I find that keeps that little bit of control there without having to constantly like, don't the kid. And then it's too much. Yeah. So they have those like basic rules in place. And then as we learn more about what we do and don't do and those sort of things. But those are my basics, just to not overload her at the start as well.
So important to have, it's hard. It's awesome that we're having this conversation, because it's hard for people when they start the training to understand why we are asking you to have such good management of your dog under high distraction environments. Because if your dog couldn't do that, if you can't disengage your dog from the whatever, you have to disengage the kid. But that's really hard. It's hard. If a kid has gotten to a point where they're not redirecting or they're not whatever, blah, 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 it's hard then in our roles, especially, to disengage the kid. And if we're relying on disengaging the kid to manage the dog, now we're in trouble. So it's so important. Even when kids are doing that trick thing, like trying to ask for 5 things for one treat, like just disengage your dog from that, and then it's like it puts a stop to it. And then we can, when a kid is in that zone and they're excited, and they are a bit dysregulated because they're like, if I can disengage the dog, just recall them. Like they're going to, get your recall right. They're going to come to you.
Or middle,
exactly.
Or sometimes I use the good girl, because like as soon as I do that,
and then they'll stop taking the food.
She stares at me going, oh my god, what am I doing wrong? What's happening? And the kid's going, sit. She's just totally blocked them out. She's staring at me going, what's happening? And like that always works too. So and there's always times where she'll be a little bit naughty, but like, that's expected. But most of the time she's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I explain that to the kid too. Look, Sophie's a bit out of control. What can we do right now?
Absolutely. Oh, it's so useful. The dogs, we don't want the dogs to be completely perfect. We just want to be able to manage a situation, keep the situation from getting completely out of control.
Yeah.
But if you can disengage your dog from an activity that's that a kid's engaging in that might not be super beneficial or helpful, because I don't like letting my kids engage in those kinds of behaviors or interactions with the dogs long term, even if I have to turn a blind eye to it and early on or at certain times or whatever, because they're not good social skills. Like those aren't true. And that's my job a lot of the time, is to help these kids understand theory of mind. So like what is this like for the dog? Like how do you think, what do you think that's like for Oliver? When we've promised him, like I've taught him, we promised him he only has to do one thing to get a treat, like, so those kinds of exercises, they are super useful, and we do talk through them and they become interventions. But where that, for the space to be there for the intervention, we have to stop the interaction, because while the kid is in the interaction, they can't hear you, you're talking to a brick wall, like so we actually need to manage and disengage the dog from the interaction to like pause it and then have this learning moment. And then, really draw on the kid's relationship with the dog. Like they don't want to upset the dog. Like they, like, whereas if it was another human, they'd be like, I don't care. Like, like we do kids groups and stuff, and we'll try and get them to like not cheat in games against each other or like give each other turns. And they're like, hell no. Like, I don't care about that kid. I'm taking all the turns. But if we put the dog in the game, the dog never gets their turn skipped.
No, they always want, I've done that too with Sophie. They always like want Sophie to win or.
Yeah. So cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
The other thing I was going to touch on as well, Nicole, to ask you about is, do you have any issues with kids using voice commands and the dog not understanding because their voice sounds different or it's a bit quiet or something like that? Do you use hand signals as well?
Yeah, I do actually. So I have a few kids obviously that have they do see speech as well. They have speech language disorders and those sort of things where their language isn't as clear. So that's already one thing that if it's not clear, Sophie might not fully understand what word they're saying. So often I do have use hand signals and stuff, and usually she's pretty good at understanding. Like I have one kid that just does this and she goes down eventually.
Isn't it amazing what the kids can do and the dogs figure it out?
Yeah, or if they hold their hand out,
that
eventually.
Must be so cool to watch.
Or if you hold your hand out, she kind of knows to shake. Usually more so if they're holding a treat. If they do this, then she knows, like, yep, that's what's happening.
For sure.
But sometimes there is a bit of that. That does help with guiding that a little bit too. Like we have to speak more clearly or use a higher pitched tone of voice because they might say it a bit too like monotone. So like usually I have to do more of a higher pitched voice to motivate her to do something as well. So teaching them that sort of tone of voice is important as well, and not putting, more than one thing at a time. If they go sit down, spin in a row, she's not going to do anything because she's going to be like, that was 3 different words together. I don't know what that meant. So we do work on that a little bit too, but sometimes that does come into play a little bit when the clarity isn't fully there, which can be a bit frustrating, but they do often do the hand signals then too. Or I give them another command that's a little bit easier for them to say or something like that. So.
Yeah. Agree. That's pretty much been my experience as well. Same sort of stuff. So interesting. It's interesting to talk about because we're obviously having this conversation for the benefit of everyone else as well around whether they're already using tricks and things like that, or if they're, still training or they're starting to think about it or whatever, that these are some of the benefits and challenges that can exist with involving trick training and trick training your dogs and putting that in sessions. The other thing just to be aware of is what treats you're going to use and making sure that your dogs... So when you're choosing a treat, you need to think about allergens. So whatever your clients... So like I used to use these peanut butter treats and then I was like, hang on a minute.
Might get me into some trouble.
I don't actually think I should be using peanut butter treats. So I also want you to consider what is good for your dogs to eat. So make sure that you choose something that's a high quality food, but the high quality stuff is going to be largely dehydrated meat. So then you'd also just need to be aware of like infection control and things like that. So just be really careful. And of course, if kids are feeding dogs, they're going to get saliva on their hands a lot of the time as well. So just being really super careful with hand sanitizer or whatever after the sessions.
What treats do both of you use in your
sessions? So
sessions?
Ziwi Peak is a really good, well-known sort of you can't go wrong sort of thing.
Dougie loves the mackerel and lamb, I think it is.
Yeah.
One.
I've got a kibble sort of thing at the moment, Taste of the Wild Pacific Stream canine formula with smoked salmon, which is a grain-free one. So I when I'm looking for stuff, I'll put it into the petfoodreviews.com.au and just have a look and see what she's given it as a review, because you don't want to feed them crap. We've talked about this before. I don't want to feed them crap, but at the same time, we want to be careful of the allergen thing too, like, and the infection control. What's that called? Like bacterial, like
Cross-contamination.
Yeah, cross-contamination kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And being aware as well. So like, because we use dog food puzzles and stuff like that. So which is what these kinds of things go in. So when you're doing stuff like that, I'll go between like this and ZWP, basically whatever's available. But considering your dog's diet, if you're going to be doing a lot of tricks or stuff like that, just make sure you're considering that when you're feeding them their breakfast and dinner as well. So my dogs get breakfast and dinner, so it's easier for me because I just give them a normal breakfast, and then if whatever dog's been at work has had a lot of puzzles or tricks or whatever that day, I know I can just give them a bit less dinner. But just considering that, because we don't want to have obese dogs because they're not going to live forever. So we're all obviously trying to make our dogs immortal and live forever. So they will never, ever, ever die and leave us. So in order to do that, keep that in mind, because if you're going to be using a lot of this sort of stuff, you just need to compensate their dinner.
I definitely agree with all that too. And sometimes when I can, like Sophie's weirdly loves vegetables, which is great. Like,
yeah, my dogs will do tricks for carrot, little bits of carrot.
Bits of carrot. She loves peas, like just like a little pea. She'll do whatever for a little pea. Like
that's a perfect treat-sized vegetable as well.
Perfect.
So I try to do that where I can. If I give her too much, like she'll have a few spinach leaves, but then she'll get to the point like, I'm over this. No, thank you. But the carrot and peas she'll always go for. But I try to mix it up a little bit, but I've always taken into account, like I sometimes even use her, if she has kibble for one meal, I'll use some of that. I'll give her half of it and take the other half to work, and we'll use that for some of it as well. Just try to like, because I'm always monitoring her weight too, but that's why I always take into account. Or if she's eaten a lot that day, to say to my husband, do not give her any of your dinner tonight. She's had a lot today.
Don't believe her when she says she's hungry.
I figured out
she's going to lie to you.
Nala's physio exercises have, like, she has to go and stand on this platform. Like one of them is just standing on this platform, and one of them is standing paws up on the platform. She's got to do it for a minute 5 times. And I know we've discussed this before, but I don't have the patience for that. So I'm literally like 10 seconds in, I'm like, that's a minute. Okay. I'm so bored.
It feels like a really long time, especially for those obedience videos. I stood there for 5 minutes, her laying down. I was like, oh my gosh. It's at least been 20 minutes now.
It's been
like
100 years.
It is torture.
I can't imagine watching them and assessing them.
We watch them in fast forward.
Oh, that's smart.
Can't handle it. Can't do it. Yeah, watch it in fast forward and just wait for something to happen. That's why we tell people during the course, don't talk to us during the videos. Don't say anything important during the videos, because I've got that bad boy in fast forward. So we just wait for something to happen, or like, well, obviously we watch. So if the dogs get out of position or whatever, then we have to go back and watch it properly. Or if we watch the beginning when they get given the command, and then the end, because the drop videos are 15 minutes each, and there's 3 of them, and it's literally just a dog in a drop with like things going past, and it's like 45 minutes of that. Plus the cost for us to mark them would be exponentially high if we had to spend 45 minutes just watching drop videos of a dog in just lying down and nothing happening around it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it would be $400 to get just the videos marked, because
I think it would need to be more to make you sit through 45 minutes.
And I just won't do it. No? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not doing it. One thing that I've started doing is watching them while I'm on the treadmill. So that is very ticking efficient. 2 boxes. But I still get distracted because I've got my treadmill in front of my
horses
window. Yeah, where the paddock is. So then I'll be like, one day there's a big, massive eagle just like on the side of the dam. And I was like, that's a really big bird. It was huge. It was like a person. It wasn't like that big, but it was pretty big. You know what I mean? I was like, is that a goat? It was an eagle. I got on video. It was crazy.
Distractions for you as well.
So many distractions. So I do need some stimulation there. But anyway, the point of that was I figured out, there's lick mats that you can get. You can just stick it to the wall, stick it to the glass door, and put the platform there, put some peanut butter on it, and she just stands on the platform. And I'm like,
a good idea.
See ya. So then I just go and get ready for work and put about a minute's worth of peanut butter on there. And then when she runs out of peanut butter, she comes and finds me wherever I am in the house. And she's like, all the peanut butter's gone. And I'm like, must have been a minute. Great. And we'll go back and reset it. And I'm like, this is fantastic.
Sophie, efficient.
I'm like, this is great. You should see the glass door though, all around the lick mat, because the lick mat gets eventually pulled off. All around it's filthy. It's all covered in saliva and peanut
Lovely.
butter. I'm like, oh well. It's the cost of doing business, you know what I'm saying? Classic. Okay. Nicole's going to give us a little bit of a demo. We're going to talk about, I'm tried to call my dog up here like 3 times. I keep muting myself because she's wandered off somewhere.
I have to wake Sophie up, sadly. She looks pretty happy in her bed.
We're going to talk,
bless her.
guys,
Sophie.
a bit of a demo, a bit of a talk through how to get
Hello.
started.
I'm sorry I woke you from your nap.
Hello, Sophie. Sorry, darling. We're
You don't know to
gonna
wake up.
What does she look at out the window? Is it what's out there? Is it people or is it like a garden?
Nothing exciting. It's literally nothing happening. It's just there's like a road and there's a car that passes by every now and then. I think she just likes.
What just went past
just
then?
in
Because I can
case.
see her watching it.
It was like a truck just drove past then.
She was like, "Hello, truck. Oh, well, hey."
Yeah, just anything moving, she has
Yeah.
to kind of look at. So it doesn't really matter what it is, but there's nothing. There's sometimes a tree that blows in the breeze, and she's like, "Oh yeah, okay." So
My border collie's
Keeping
outside right now. He's having some privilege time, not confined, and
Hello.
he's doing laps around, just casually checking.
Border Patrol.
Like he thinks he's a Maremma. Yeah. So he just casually cruises around and checks like, okay, yep, over here. Okay, yeah,
Tick,
right.
yep.
Yep, great. And then he finds his little garden spots. He's got garden spots and he goes into one of his little gardens and has a little sleep in there.
Aw.
And then you'll see him like he'll just trot past and he's like, yep, horses, great. 1, 2, 3, yep, excellent. Okay, over to this paddock.
Little security guard.
Chickens are over there. Great. Eat some of this chicken poo. Yep. Cool. And then you'll have a little sleep in another different garden. Loves it.
Cute.
Loves it. Okay, so we're going to describe luring and stuff like that. So do you want to give us a demo? I'm going to get Nala up here because I'm pretty sure she doesn't lure.
I will probably have to take my headphones out because
Same.
Yeah. Otherwise, I will be connected to the laptop.
This
so
is
hopefully you
going
can
to
still
get
hear me okay.
This is going to get a bit messy, viewers and listeners, because we're going to
test it
try
out.
and show you some stuff. And I've lost my dog, so we've already stuffed that bit up. She's gone, so she's downstairs somewhere. So we're going to be a bit clunky for a bit here, but I think it's going to be fun, and I think you might learn something. But feel free to judge us.
This is very YouTube dependent for
Yeah.
anyone that's listening.
Feel free to be very not impressed with how this goes. We can see you. I can see you from your ankles up.
Okay, that's probably enough. It's not much.
Yeah.
So just want me showing what I usually start with like some tone of voice stuff, like really like playful and engaged, because then like if she's not engaged with me, she's not really listening. But oh, that was a good stretch, hey? You just woke up. But she already knows because I'm holding a bag of food that she's like, what's happening? We're ready. She's looking at me.
What I should do to get Nala back, I'm going to scrunch this bag of food.
I can't actually tell if she's in the camera right now. Is she in the shot?
I think she's
She is,
downstairs.
yes, yeah. Sophie's in the shot, yeah.
Oh, yes, Sophie. Sorry.
She already knows something's happening. She's ready. You can see she's.
Look at her, she's sitting so well.
Do you want to sit? Yeah.
Good girl.
And I usually do like throwing the treat things, because she loves play-based stuff. So I find even if I just feed her the treat, it's not that exciting. But if I throw it up, it's like, yes, I get to play catch and do a treat. So now she's starting to off about it because she's like, things are happening now. So I don't know if you can. I need her on the side. I don't know if you can see.
We can, yeah, we can definitely see, yeah.
So sometimes I use my treat to like lure her where I want to go. So if I go middle, she does pretty much go straight into the middle, and then I'll drop it. Then she knows the catch, and then she might walk with me.
Wow.
I like to do. We're only just practicing this one with like middle of the move kind of thing. So she is getting there, but I try to reward quite frequently with that one, because I feel like if you don't reward enough, they sort of get confused and sort of give up on it a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
So that's what we are. She does love middle, but it's like we're still practicing.
So how did you teach middle?
Walk me through it, because I'm going to try and do it with Nala.
We're going to take it back to the start now. I'm going to go back to basics. So I always started with the lure first. So she knows that if I say yes, that's obviously a positive reinforcement. And I just basically lured her between my legs. So I used the treat. It was like, Sophie, got her attention. She's watching. I know she's engaged. So I go, come around here. They go, middle. Yes. And then I treat her. So actually, I don't usually say middle straight away when she hasn't got the verbal cue yet. So now she knows the verbal cue. But when she was getting it, I would add the verbal cue. So maybe I would start normally with and then I know. You're very excited.
Well done, Nala.
Should I lure her into a sit? And also, how are you getting your hand like that?
I think you just have to do a quick swap.
Sometimes I do 2 hands as well. So sometimes I go, I know, I want to treat you because you'll be cute. So I usually lure her around and then I'll have the other treat at this hand.
Oh,
so
that's
okay. Sometimes I'll do 2.
Yay! Good job.
So when she got the idea of coming between my legs, I could just sort of do it with one because she's like, I know where the treat's going, I get it. But at first, when she had no idea what I was going to do, like same with spin, because I've still got to work on her spins because she knows to spin one way, but I was a bit silly and didn't teach her the other way. So if I try to, I'm still working on the other
Doesn't quite
direction.
translate, yeah.
Yeah, so I sort of can lure her around the other way, but she hasn't figured out the other way without me luring yet. So
yeah.
But she knows if I say spin, she thinks it's only one way. So I think I have to add a different verbal cue to learn the other way.
Yeah.
I've heard people say rewind.
Oh, that's a good one. Sometimes I can't say right and left because I've already said spin. So
yeah.
And then same with weave, I did the same thing. I did like a treat in each hand. So then, hey, I know the treat back there. I did the same thing where I'd use my hand. She's still perfecting that. So she does sometimes do it without the cue and sometimes with. So bring out, please.
There we go.
So I sort of do a little bit of a tiny bit of a lure now with my hand, but she gets it now.
So well.
And then if I do it a few times in a row, she sort of, because we've already done it a couple of times, she's so smart. She's like, yep, this is what we're doing now.
Okay. So
and then she'll start to do it.
Dog. So recap. Recap. If we are good girl trying to get that dog in the middle, is it important to just get them walking underneath you, like get them used to, like just being under you and around your legs and stuff? Like, is it possible? Did you have any problems with dogs being not that confident?
We started with weave actually before we did middle. So she kind of was already used to being between my legs, and she's always loved being under things. So she's always like under my legs, under the table, under stuff. So she loves being under things anyway. So I don't know if that's just an inherent thing for Sophie specifically.
Yeah.
Dougie can do middle. I don't think I did anything before that. I think he just associated it with the treat. So
yeah, Sophie just liked being close to me and underneath something.
He quite enjoys it.
So
yeah.
And then to make her start moving, I just did the really subtle, like she doesn't always walk backwards, only sometimes. Now that she's sitting, she probably won't. But I've already started doing the moving. So sometimes she'll move a little bit with me, but it's a work in progress.
It's pretty cool.
But
and she'll do this. Start the moving.
Sorry?
How do you start the moving?
It's the very subtle weight shifts. Sometimes I'll just step a little bit one way and then a little bit the other way. And she has to have that really subtle movement with me. And then,
wow, okay.
Has she got her feet on your feet, or is she just in the middle?
She doesn't, but I kind of want her to learn that. I haven't been able to teach her that one yet, really. So middle. Yeah.
Oh
but
it looks like she's gliding.
She knows that I drop it into her mouth. So like she's like, I have to be ready and I have to move. So I was with the tiniest little.
That's probably what helps actually, is because she's wanting to make sure she can see you when she's looking up. So
Nicole, how long should people spend in a trick training session? don't?
I honestly think less is more. So I never do a few minutes at a time because you just don't want to overwhelm them and
You don't want it to be
you want to keep
boring.
it fun and positive. Yeah. So like people say, oh, like I don't have time to train my dog. It's like I don't have an hour of my day, but I do like I'll just randomly do it. I'll get up to go kind of fill up my drink bottle and just do 2 minutes of something with Sophie and then just let her chill again. And just like little bits wherever I can. If I'm sitting there waiting for my coffee at the cafe, I just grab my treats and start getting her to do some stuff with me for 2 minutes and she has fun and then that's it. And it's funny how much they pick up because if you're doing that like 1% every day, it eventually builds up.
Mm.
I don't know if I'm just Sophie's very smart, so I don't know if that's also a big thing that she just picks up on things really quickly. So I do find that if I'm just consistent and do that little bit each day, she does pick up on things quite quickly.
What about loading our marker? Should I do a little marker loading?
Oh, look at you, Nala. Little kitty.
All right. So if you haven't done trick training before with your dog, so what we want to do is like load up your marker. So we're using yes as our marker. So if you want to use a clicker, if you know how to use a clicker, you can use a clicker. You got to be, whatever marker you use, you got to be on time with it. So it's no good to ask the dog to sit and then you're mucking around and then you give the marker because the marker is supposed to be that is correct right at that exact moment. So to make the marker meaningful, so why would a click or the word yes be meaningful? So it's going to become the reinforcer. So to make it meaningful, we have to load it up. So making it meaningful. So we say yes and give food. Yes. Yes. Not supposed to preload. I'm preloading. Preloading is when you are getting ready to go because that actually becomes like the dog's like, oh, I'm already doing the right thing. So you should, like if you had a treat pouch or something, it should be like neutral. I'm not going to say just while she's looking at me. Yes. Then get it back to neutral. She's looking at me, so I'm not going to say it. Yeah. Make sense? So the way that, they learn, you can load their markers up. It doesn't take long. But the way that you know that it's been loaded up is if they're like over there looking at something and you go, yes, and they look at you. That's how you know that your marker's been loaded up. Then you can start to use it in your trick training.
And you also need to stay consistent with it, don't you? You have to stick with what you decide your marker is. Don't go one day clicker, next day yes.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, and timing as well. Like you want to get it as soon as, like, same with the shaping. Like as soon as they make that tiny little inclination of doing something towards what you want to reward that so they know they're in the right direction too. Because sometimes you do have to break it down as well and make sure they're on
little
that right
clues.
track. Yeah, it's like that clear communication. Otherwise, they're just like, "What am I doing? I have no idea." And then they just start doing all the tricks they can think of to figure out what you want, and it's a bit chaotic.
Absolutely.
What are some of the newer tricks that you're working on with Sophie, Nicole?
We're working on sit pretty at the moment. So
yes,
I know
that's right.
That's a tricky one because I know, like, I've done a lot of research into it. And I know that there could be like bad ways to teach it, as well as like, but there's so many benefits to it too because I've read that it can be good. Like, obviously, you want to build up the core strength. At their core strength is they're like very active, and she's a very active, sort of high impact, wanting to play all the time and things like that. So I think building up that core strength is important. So we've been practicing that like no more than a couple minutes a day. Because I think it does take up to like a month or so to actually build up that strength if they're not a dog that just naturally, I don't think dogs just weirdly naturally do that. But Sophie's not been one of those dogs that does that. So we've been working on that. And for that, I just sort of started with, because sometimes she wants to jump up. So we're still sort of trying to correct that a little bit when I try to do it. But starting with giving her more stability. So something like she does hold onto my arm or I support her chest or she holds onto my leg and we've already been working on that one for about 2 weeks now, I think. And she was sort of offering it a little bit before, but sometimes I'll just put my knee there and say, sit pretty. And
Yeah.
Had that little bit of stability. At first, she had no idea what
she was offering that before, Nicole.
Yeah, she was. Like I said, we got it's a new one. So now that it's a new one, she's like, this is a new thing I've got. Maybe this is what you want. But at first I was like, is it pretty? And I was giving her just like my arm to hold onto her chest. So that was, so she wasn't just going to fall backward or fall over. But she's starting to build up the strength. I just know that I have to do it safely because I don't want to overload her either and do it too quickly. Is it pretty? So I want to work towards that. She knows that, but she knows the verbal cue already. It's just literally the physical that we're working on. Yeah. But she does. She does
doing so well.
But yeah, she's just practicing at the moment. So we just have to take it slow because I had read that it can be bad for them if you don't train it properly and if you rush it too much. So I literally just do like a couple of repetitions in the morning with breakfast or something, and then that's it for the day. Like just because she knows the verbal cue now, it's just literally building up the strength. Whereas a lot of tricks you don't have to do that. But that's really the main one we're doing at the moment. And we're still perfecting middle because we've got middle, but I sort of have to do a little bit of like a butt, like face my butt to her a little bit to get her to like if I don't have the treat on me, I sort of have to be like middle and then she comes around. Whereas if I'm facing her, she doesn't fully understand.
I find Dougie responds when I step out to the side a little bit, like I make a little bit of room. He's like, okay.
She already does it now.
I'm coming in.
And I want to get better at it, the walking forwards and backwards, because she can kind of walk forwards and then when I go to go backwards, she sits down. So we're just I'm sort of just tweaking a lot of tricks that we know at the moment. And then the sit pretty is the main one I want to learn. But yeah. But I'm always interested in learning new things, so I'm sure there'll be more to come.
Yeah, no, it's just so fun.
What about it is so fun. She loves it too, so she gets excited by it. And you get food out of it, so that's exciting.
One of the really easy and impressive to clients tricks is the spin. And it's very easy to teach. And I also found as well that it's got a hand signal that can be quite easy for kids to do as well. So it is a favorite. Do you want to show people, maybe just do like, how do we teach a dog to lure? And then how can we use that to get the spin? Because some dogs won't lure. They don't lure.
So I want to get her like engaged in the treat. So I'll sort of get her to follow it with my hand like that. So she knows that she's following it. And then I usually just bring her around like that. So getting her really engaged, it has to be a high motivating food too. So if it's like sort of something that I have high value treats that are a little bit fattier that I do less of, and lower value treats that are a bit better for her, depending on if it's a new trick or something we're just reinforcing. But just getting her to follow it with her nose that she knows, and then trying to give her that rate of reward pretty quickly. So I'm not just teasing her and dragging her around the room for 20 minutes with this treat, because that would be fun. So I always just, lure with the treat, and then as I'm trying to fade out the lure, I'll just have my hand with empty and just spin, and then I'll give her a treat. Or I'll say yes, sorry. So many things to think about. So I'll have the empty hand and go, yes. And then she knows she's done the right thing, and then she can get the treat. So, and then I'll do empty hand, and then sometimes I'll just pretty much get rid of the hand signal, and she knows the verbal now. Spin. Oh, I'm starting to do it a little bit automatically. I don't really think about it, actually. I have to really think about it now. Yeah.
So, Nicole, should people try and go the whole way around with a spin when they're first starting?
I would say just getting them to, I'm trying to remember what I did, because she's like spin, don't spin for a really long time now.
Did you say she goes both ways or she doesn't?
She can go one way without a treat and one way with a treat.
All right, hang on. I'm going to pin myself again on here for a second. I'll show people what this looks like when you're teaching it, because we've only got one direction. How do I?
Is that Nala there, did you say? Or
yeah.
Does she no spin?
One way. Hang on a second.
I know, I'm sort of standing here teasing you. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So when a dog already knows to lure and they know to spin, so Nicole's dog's going to look like they're just following that lure around. Then if they don't know it, it's going to look like this. It's got to be broken right down.
That'd be like with the shaping, giving them all the reward before they've done the full spin, yeah.
I'll show
I'm
you.
trying to remember how I did with Sophie, because I feel like she picked up on it very quickly. But otherwise, I would break it down. And each time they get that little bit further, you get that treat till they're all the way around,
I found that I had to do it really wide for Dougie to get him to
I think I
move
did
forward.
that quite wide too, yeah.
Mm,
Yes, I know.
good job, Nala.
Pick it up.
Yeah, there she goes.
Oh, some dogs just pick it up really fast, but some dogs will do that weird head thing where they're like,
That's what Sophie's like with rollover. I haven't taught her rollover because she just isn't a fan. She'll kind of start doing this weird like neck, and I just sort of gave up on it because I was like, it's not important, but
Yeah.
but it's one that she just doesn't come. It doesn't come naturally to her. She's just like, I don't understand. I can just snap my neck in half and get the treat. I might have to roll over.
Yeah. My dogs don't roll over. Nala doesn't really have the hips for it, as you can see.
Dougie doesn't like it.
Yeah, Sophie doesn't like it either. So I just was like, you know what? There's way more fun things we can learn. Let's just not worry about that one.
We have Charlie at work and Callum taught her to roll over, and it's hilarious because now she offers rolling over all the time.
Cute.
She does it when she's playing with the other dogs, and she's like, she'll be running around playing and then she'll just be like rolling. And I'm like watching her one day and I'm like, did you teach her to roll over? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's hilarious. It's so funny. She just does it all the time.
She just loves it. Cute.
A good idea for your dog to have a little break. So I'm having a little bit of a chin wag, and Nala's, you see what she's doing.
Sophie just doesn't want to stop staring at me.
Sophie's like, I'm committed to this session.
Look at Nala.
I've had a nap.
I'm trying to give her a break, but she sort of just wants to follow me around.
I've rested, Mum. I've rested. I'm ready to go.
Breed maybe there. Breed and work ethic. Nala's like, this isn't peanut butter on a wall.
You're setting up so nicely too, I know.
All right. Let's see where she's up to. So she's had a bit of a break, so we'll see how far she's got with her spin. Good girl. Good girl.
How old is Nala?
3.5. Yes.
And Sophie? How old's Sophie?
It's just at 3. So same
Oh,
age,
it's similar. Yeah, similar age.
All right. So she's doing it. So now I can add my word in. So I can say spin. Yes. Good girl. I want her to stand up. Spin. Yes. Good girl. Spin. Yes. Good girl. So we've got our word spin. Yes. Good girl. Now
Such a good job.
to try and fade my lure because I've been using my lure. So all you need to do is pretend you've got it and then spin. Yes. And then deliver like that. Spin. Yes. Good girl. One more. Spin. Yes. Good girl.
Just picked that up so quickly. Well
Yeah.
done, Nala.
She does know the other direction, so it might take longer for the very first spin, you know what I'm saying? Like she knows it the other way, so probably helpful.
Sophie, up here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute, particularly because you can see you two in the mirror behind.
Oh, really?
She just hopped up. Oh, that was so cute.
Yeah, good girl. You say hi?
Hello,
Not to me.
Sophie.
Look, there's people up here.
Remember how you taught shake, Nicole?
I feel like with shake, I don't know if it was the correct way to teach her. It was one of the ones I taught her at the very start when she was a puppy. But I would basically pick up her paw and say shake and then giving her that marker and that treat. Oh, I know.
That's what I did, and I'm pretty sure that's the fastest way, honestly.
And then they started offering, she's like climbing up on my lap. She's like, where's the treat? I know. Hey. get a close-up view of it.
So
So yeah, I
cute.
picked up her paw and then would say shake and give her the treat. Yes, shake. Just kept picking up her paw. It was good to, like, as a puppy anyway, to get them used to touching their paws and things like that anyway.
Yeah.
And then slowly she started to offer it, and then every time she would even just start to lift her paw that little bit, I would do that, like with the shaping. I would say yes, give her the treat, and then slowly she just started to lift her paw up higher and higher and offering her paw herself. So, but I just started by picking up her paw and saying the verbal cue straight away and rewarding immediately, and that worked pretty quickly. And then I had to do the same thing, like both paws, because I did one paw and then she didn't know how to shake with the other side. So it's so funny that you think it would translate across, but it doesn't. And you're like, okay, I have to teach both sides. So now she does know both sides, but yeah.
Yep, I like that. So that's a combination of like guiding. So by picking up her foot and showing her what shake means, like, so if you say shake, then pick up the foot, yes, treat. When you say shake, they want to hurry up to the treat. So you're like, shake, and they're like, oh, okay, she's going to pick up my foot. And they'll start to meet you. Like they'll start picking your foot up as their foot up as you're reaching out to pick it up. Yeah. And then it'll just keep going from there. And they'll be like, hurry up with this foot thing to get to the treat thing.
So is guiding different to shaping, because guiding is like a manual, like a physical manipulation?
Yeah. So like if I was trying to lure her, I'll just remove Nicole's pin again so I can see myself. So if I'm trying to lure Nala into middle, just pin myself so I can see. Sorry, it's so clunky, everyone. I won't use food. So Nala, if I was trying to lure her and she wasn't getting it, I could use her collar and go, oh, and like actually physically put her in there. Or like, for example, if we were doing like a bit of lure and then go into the middle. Yes, good girl, good girl, good girl. I could hold her there and put her foot on my foot. Yes. Like that. Good girl. You know what I mean? So like you can use a combination of like, you're just showing her what it is rather than like waiting for her to like offer and guess.
What's interesting actually about that is the fact that because, you know, therapy dogs need to have some experience with pressure and being physically handled, that's probably a good thing to just incorporate into trick training from time to time anyway, because it's something that they probably need to be comfortable with, because it's kind of,
especially with someone they trust too. Like I know Sophie will let me handle her however I want compared to someone else, but the more I do it with her, the more she kind of tolerates other people doing it with her, because she's like, oh yeah, I've had this happen before and this was all right with, you know. So I think having that aspect, because she's a bit more, she's pretty good with the luring stuff, so I haven't had to do guiding that much, but she's pretty good with, like, I was from the start always making sure I was touching her everywhere and making sure she was like desensitized, I guess, to that sort of thing, because, you know, kids don't know how to always be good with the way they touch a dog.
Exactly.
Have you seen a kid close a car door or can't touch anything the right way?
Now you're interested, hey? Now you're interested.
Hi, Sophie.
No, she just wants to look out the window again, I think.
Oh,
hey, there you go. No, she did. She's like a bit confused. I think because she can hear you now, whereas before I had the headphones in, so she was like, I don't know what you're talking about because I can only hear you talking, but now she can hear the computer, she's a bit more like, oh yeah, okay, hey, yes, I know. You're looking for the treat still.
Aww. Two very clever girls, Nala and Sophie.
So, definitely a few little tips there. I like the middle. I think we should all teach our dogs that. And the spin and the shake and those kinds of things are really handy. Do you do like a leave it kind of thing? I know we use to ask our dogs not to touch things. Do you have a leave it trick?
Like I pretty much, if I put a treat anywhere, just do the good girl tone of voice, she won't go near it, but
Yeah.
no matter where it is. But I haven't been doing it too much, but
I'll show you what we do with our.
like you put on their paw, did you say? I'd be interested to know if Sophie would leave it if I asked her to, because I never do it, but I would happy to try.
Kids really love this. I'm just going to bring my computer down a bit, so we're a bit more on
I
par.
know. Sophie, you watching this? You've got to learn something.
So if you want to teach your dogs like a leave it, all you got to do, put the food in your hand, hold it out. She knows it, so.
She's like, "I've done this before."
Yeah. When she stops investigating it, yes, that's when you give her and feed from the other hand. So because she obviously knows that point, but you would start with a closed hand, and then you, as she goes to get it, close your hand, wait for her to stop doing that. Yes. Treat a different treat from the other hand. Yes.
So it's just you're just doing like making like treating her so that she disengages in some way, is that right?
Yeah, so she figures out that if she stops touching it, that's when she gets a treat.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously just preventing her from getting it by closing my hand.
Yeah.
Yes. So you'd say she's pretty much figured it out, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
our word. Leave it. Yes. Good girl. Leave it. Yes. Good girl. I used to wait for my dogs to look at me as well. Leave it. Yes. A little side eye.
Yeah.
Leave it. Can you see her eyes? It.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Yes. So make it, she's finding it hard to look at me. If you just make a little bit of a, don't say a name or anything, just make a bit of a movement. So now we're going to put it on her feet. Those hips. She is seething physio. All right, come here. Good girl, good girl, good girl. Drop. Good girl. All right, so we're going to do the exact same thing, guys, at home, everybody. So you can do this on your hand and just wait for her to stop.
Yeah.
Because we're in a different setting, so she's going to have to figure it out again. Just trying to make it so you can see me. So I'm not saying anything. Yes. Yes. I'm not going to say anything until I think she knows it. You've got to be quick. Yes. Lie down. She nearly got that.
She's like, I'm just gonna try.
Let's see what happens. Yes. Yes. Okay, so now we should be able to say leave it. Leave it. Yes. Leave it. Yes. So because I've got it in that position, I should be able to leave it.
So I hang it off.
Leave it. Good girl.
You can see how attuned she is to your tone of voice there, Sam, as well.
leave it. And then, because kids are cruel, they'll do stuff like this. Leave it. Yeah. Nowhere for her to look now. Good girl.
So much temptation.
Yeah, she's doing so well.
All right.
Well done, Nala.
When you teach a proper leave it, I think you're supposed to not really ever let them eat it, you know, but I teach it as a trick. So we don't use, anyone who's done our courses knows that we don't use leave it for our safety stuff.
Yes.
We use our own. So leave it for us is just a trick. It's not leave that toad. It doesn't really matter, but you can see there as well. So if you've got kids, so kids love that trick and it's very easy to train. Nala hasn't done leave it in ages. But it is actually that quick when you train. So it looked like really quick to teach her that. But she has done it before, but not for a long time, but it is actually quite quick. So have a go at that at home. But if you do that, you can use your tone. So if kids are doing leave it, they're not going to say leave it in that tone that you're using. So your dog's not going to take it as seriously. So when they say leave it, you can follow up with a good girl and your dogs will hear that, but you still need to teach the dog the leave it and the whole routine of like, it goes on your foot and you don't touch it. And then they say, okay. And then so what happens a lot though, is that, they'll like put the food on the paw and then the kids will go, what do you say? Like to get them to eat it. And I'm like, because if you say it, the dog like,
They'll just go, yeah.
I'm like, or the kids will go, and like sometimes the dogs will be like, good enough for me.
Yeah.
The dogs are like, that's not the word. Not a lot of consistency. All right, fascinating stuff. I think we kept Nicole from a job long enough. It's Friday again today. You got clients this afternoon, Nicole?
No, I've got a half day, so I've finished for the day now anyway. So yeah.
Ooh, lovely.
TGIF. That's Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. Yes, TGIF. Anyway. So thank you so much for your time, Nicole. Awesome. I hope that's really helpful for people. Get yourself started with a few little tips there. Where I was saying to the girls before we even started, it's really hard to get trick training advice, classes, things like that. It's pretty hard to come across. There's not a lot of dog training companies that offer purely trick training classes. There are some around, but not a lot. So, you know, any help we can get along the way is great. Most of us are sort of self-taught off of things like YouTube and stuff like that. Or, you know, like learning things along the way from other dog people and those sorts of things. So yeah, hopefully that's enough to get you guys started and see what your dogs think of it. Even if you just teach spin, shake, and leave it. So those ones that we've covered, I think you guys should all teach middle. I'm going to try and remember to do that as well, because I think that's useful for us as a therapist to get the dog back into our bubble. I don't think you should necessarily, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I probably wouldn't ask clients to do middle because I don't really want the dog to do that. Sonny's like Sophie, Nicole, in that he runs between everybody's legs because he is like, the only option is for you to pat my entire body with your legs.
Well, Sophie only does it to the parents so far. She hasn't tried doing it with the kids. I don't know if it's like the height difference.
Yeah.
But she does it to the mums and stuff that come in and to me, and to the other staff here, but she hasn't tried doing it to the kids, but I'm not really encouraging it either. So yeah.
People always laugh it off, but they do say things like, because it's all our, you know, family, friends, tradespeople that come around or whatever, Sonny's in between everybody's legs. And they're always like, dog. And I'm like, oh, he just wants you to pat him. Like, and he does it. And he'll have his bum out in front of me and he'll be between, and then he wants me to scratch his bum and massage it. And then he does dances with his feet and he's like,
oh, he does little stompies.
Little stomp. So cute. Yeah, but I think that as the clinicians, we should totally teach middle. I think that's a great idea. But even if you guys want to just practice, get started with, some luring, and do some shake, spin, and leave it. Give those a crack. See if your dog likes it. If you are into it and you want to weave. Nicole showed us the weave as well. I think weave's a great idea. Probably, you can choose what clients you want to show that to and do that with or not. It's up to you. But yeah, get started with some of those things, and then if you like it, get across it, man. Like, get into it, get involved, do some more.
Fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Fantastic for your relationship with your dog. And send us in some bonus videos when you do your assessments of the mad tricks that you've been doing and like cool stuff that you've been accomplishing with your dogs. We'd love to see it. We always love to see it.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
You're a legend, mate. Beautiful relationship that you've got with Sophie. Absolute pleasure to watch your video and chat with you today and have you guys on as one of our TDA graduate teams. Congratulations on level 2, and yeah,
thank you.
Playing it.
Sophie, you gonna come say thank you? She's gone back to bed. She's like,
she's like, no, I'm done now.
Yay.
Oh, there she is. See you, so.
Bye, Sophie.
There you go.
Have a great Friday.
Can you see my fingers?
Look at me, Max.
Good girl. Yes or no?
All right, bye, everyone.
Alrighty. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're interested in studying with Therapy Dogs Australia, or you have a few more questions before deciding, please get in touch with us by emailing courses@therapydog.com.au or visiting our website at www.therapydog.com.au for more information and FAQs.